be honest, I probably assumed that genealogy was a bit of an anorak hobby, and the people who knew who their great-great-grandfathers were to 7 generations and could trace them were a bit dull. And now I no longer think that. I mean, that may be because I've become dull, but I don't really mind. I think it's been incredibly interesting to find out, for me, the sort of people who my relatives were and the sort of things they did. All that I find both interesting and rather inspiring.
The record suggests that Murdo Matheson lived in a croft in Crowlister, in the parish of Uig, a remote outpost, even for the Outer Hebrides. Donald MacDonald currently works this land.
Hello, Donald. Whoa! It's windy out there. I'm in Hislop. Hello. I gather you can tell me something about my ancestor, Murdo Matheson.
Well, he stayed here, out there.
Out where?
Well, I'll just show you, you know. Past the guest house there.
Right. Is that where he lived?
Yes. It was always in this village called Yes Hallamanson. That's garden.
Right.
The garden of the Mansons.
So the very last leg of Ian's journey to the garden of the Mathesons.
This is it. This is the ancestral home. Thousands of miles I've gone round the world, and here I am, in the middle of a circle of stones that I suppose I should call home. And actually, I want to leave. But then that's in the spirit of what I've discovered, I think.
A Scottish soldier who wandered far away, and soldiered far away. There was none bolder, with good broad shoulder. He'd fought in many a fray, and fought and won.
Ian Hislop has to get the prize for most miles travelled in a programme in this series so far. South of England to south of Africa, and then right back up to the far northwest of Scotland. In this week of remembrance, Ian won't be the only one who's thinking of family members affected by war. Nick Barrett's the historian and genealogist who you may have spotted in the film you've just seen. We talk about the British Empire, but on the evidence of the film we've just seen, it was the Scottish Empire, actually. I mean, to what extent is that true, and also what challenges does that present in terms of getting the information?
Well, I think the film that Ian has made really brings home the fact that the Scottish people were the driving force behind the British Empire, not just the military might and muscle, but also the heart, souls and minds of the administration. But equally, Scottish research is a lot easier, simply because millions of records are available online for you to search. This is something I've downloaded from the Scotland's People website, and it's Ian's grandfather's marriage certificate. So not only are the records easy to get hold of, as we can see here, there's a lot more detail than the English counterparts.
I need to ask you about your appearance in that South African hotel room. Very nice to see you come out of the shadows. But it was with this incredible discovery about this astonishing Murdo Matheson, who was born in the middle of nowhere, and then ends up fighting in South Africa. Incredible. We didn't even go looking for him.
Well, it was quite a bizarre research trail we had to follow. Now, following on from the point about Scottish records, we tracked down Murdo Matheson in the 1841 census. And it turns out, in his occupation, he's an army pensioner. So immediately, the light bulb flashes, let's think about where we can find records.
Easy, yeah.
Well, National Archives again. And we searched for Murdo online and found out that his discharge papers had survived. We ordered them up, and that's when the problems started. There were 2 Murdo Mathesons.
For a genealogist, this is really bad news. This is a bad day, isn't it? When
well,
you've got an unusual name like that. If it's called John Smith or something, but Murdo Matheson, there's 2 of him.
You expect it to be easy, don't you? There were 2 of them from the same place, serving in the same regiment. The only thing we had to go on was that they were in different battalions, different parts of that regiment. So we went back to the census, we cross-referenced ages, and finally came up with the right person. Once we'd done that, that's when the floodgates opened. We found so much information on the chap. Here is his discharge papers. Beautiful documents. It shows you when he was born, how long he served, and also why he stopped serving. So we've got here, it's because of the hot climate. He was unable to serve in a hot climate. Let's face it, he'd been there for 20-odd years, but this was seen as perhaps an excuse to come back to Scotland and settle back down again.
That's not a euphemism for something that he liked to drink or some such...
Trust me, you will find all sorts of conditions, medical, drinking, otherwise, in these papers. So it sounds like it just had enough.
We've got this gift, as you say, for a record-keeping bureaucracy. But where would you genealogists be without the generations of people who wrote all this stuff down?
Exactly. We have a real debt to these people who sat down and copiously wrote out all of the information on these documents. So it just goes to show it's not just birth certificates, census returns. You can really understand who someone was and where they went through records such as these.
Thanks, Nick. If you need yet more inspiration to start your own research, digital viewers can press red now and have a look at our interactive programme. This week, Nick's How-To series tells you about using marriage certificates in your research, and you can find out about online resources, including the BBC's People's War website. Now, this is a long-term project in which the BBC is aiming to create a lasting archive dedicated to capturing people's personal stories of World War II. Military or civilian on the front line or the home front, every story plays a vital part in helping future generations understand the sacrifices made by a nation at war. You can find it at bbc.co.uk/WW2. You can tell your or your family's stories there and get information about researching military history. Next week, Moira Stewart digs up some surprising routes in Scotland before heading off to Dominica in the Caribbean. In the meantime, press your red button or go online for more.
Walter was a devoted husband and family man.
He had an easy kind of way about him. Very loving, but like a real kind of, I suppose, man's man.
But what was the secret he kept throughout World War II? Confronting painful truths. Family Ties, tomorrow at 8:30 on BBC4.